Once upon a time, the year being 1951, a young man walked down the streets of an island, the island called Manhattan. And if some of the feats he performed had the feeling of magic, is that surprising? His name was Aladdin. Mr. Aladdin, a wonderful new adventure series starring Paul Frees. Tonight, Mr. Aladdin performs transcribed The Miracle of the Four-Legged Husband.
It started out as a dull day at the office. One of those days when you can only make things happen by going out for coffee. I went out for coffee. Nothing happened. Not one to give up easily, I went out again. About to play my system for the third time, I got a lifted eyebrow from my secretary.
Going out again, Mr. Aladdin? I didn't know the coffee was that good.
I've had better coffee made by a mess sergeant, Jeannie.
But there's a new girl on the counter.
Well, apparently I have no secrets at all.
Oh, she's not your type, Mr. Aladdin.
These matters require full investigation, Jeannie. Snap judgments are not only unfair to both parties, but what...
Hello. Are you Mr. Aladdin, the man who can do anything?
Well, putting it as modestly as I can, yes. And this is my secretary, Miss Mobly. Miss,
Dutton, Eloise Dutton. It's Mrs.
This is Miss Mobly, Mrs. Dutton.
How do you do? Mr. Aladdin. How do you do? Mr. Aladdin, if we could discuss in private, please.
Certainly, if you'll just step into my office, Mrs. Dutton. No calls, please, Jeannie.
Mr. Aladdin.
Hmm?
She's not your type either.
Time, Jeannie, will tell. Well, I'm sure a beautiful young matron like yourself couldn't have a very serious problem, Mrs. Dutton.
Oh, it's serious, all right. But I'm sure you can handle it.
Thank you. Now, what do you want me to do?
Get rid of my husband.
I beg your pardon?
I said get rid of my husband. His name's Arthur.
Yes. Mrs. Dutton...
What's the matter? You can do anything, but you can't get rid of Arthur? It's like I'm asking for the planet Neptune.
Mrs. Dutton...
Advertising. You can't believe a thing you hear these days. You advertise you can do anything. Just the other day over the radio, they advertised a vacuum cleaner. And when it came, it wasn't at all what they
Mrs.
said
Dutton,
it was going to be.
Just so I'm sure there's no misunderstanding, what exactly do you want me to do to Arthur?
Oh, you mean you thought I wanted you to put him out of the way completely? Oh, no, it's nothing like that.
Oh, that's a relief.
No, just find a nice home for him someplace where he won't come back.
You're still talking about your husband.
Mr. Aladdin, you look to me like a Scorpio, right?
A Scorpio?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my birth sign. No, I'm a Libra.
Good. I'm a Pisces, and there's always a rapport between Libra and Pisces. So I know you'll understand about Arthur.
Oh, I'm sure.
You see, my husband died 3 years ago. Fell downstairs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, don't be too sorry. He was very wealthy.
Oh, I see.
But now, you see, Arthur is very jealous. From the other side, of course.
Spiritualism.
Yes, of course. And you have no idea how annoying it is, Mr. Aladdin, to be just in the prime of life, as you might say, and have Arthur watching day and night from the other side.
I can imagine.
Fine for him, of course. He's got nothing better to do.
You say he watches you night and day?
Yes, through the dog. That's his spirit control. The dog's name used to be Bosco, but it just got too complicated. Now I call him Arthur. It's the same thing anyhow.
I think I've got it. You want me to take the dog Arthur and find a new home for him so that you can, well...
Well, you just get rid of Arthur, Mr. Aladdin. I'll take it from there.
Well, it doesn't sound too difficult, Mrs. Dutton.
You don't know Arthur, either one of them.
True.
But you'll find out. Here's my card, Mr. Aladdin. Come this evening, around 8.
I'll be there.
See you then, Libra.
The same to you, Pisces. Ooh. That evening found me ringing a doorbell in Upper Manhattan. A large house, but apparently not large enough for both Arthur and Eloise.
Yeah?
My name's Aladdin, Robert Aladdin. I came to see Mrs. Dutton about Arthur.
Oh, sure. Well, come in, Aladdin. Come in. Sit down. Eloise will be down in a minute.
Thank you.
I'm Bernie Cap, friend of Eloise's.
Glad to know you. Friend of Arthur's, too?
That little... Listen, Aladdin, if you can get rid of that nasty little creep, get him out of my hair for good, well, you write your own ticket with Bernie Cap. Any day.
I take it you and Arthur don't hit it off.
Look, you're trying to make a little time with a dame. With Eloise. And her dead husband comes snarling around with his teeth hanging out. Only it's a dog. Only the way he looks at you, it ain't a dog. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's tough competition.
Yeah, you should try it.
Well, Mr. Aladdin, you've met Mr. Cap?
We were just discussing Arthur, Mrs. Dutton. This is Arthur?
Hey, now, hold on, O'Malley. Now, if I took all the bites I'm going to take from him... Shut up, you!
You see, it's like I said, Mr. Aladdin. Arthur's wildly jealous.
Well, there, Arthur, old horse. You've got no cause to be jealous of me now, have you?
Why, Mr. Aladdin,
Hey, what's with the why, Mr. Aladdin?
Arthur's jealous, and he can always tell. Oh, why, Mr. Aladdin?
You in business, Mr. Cap?
Yeah, I'm a butcher.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, you see the way I figure, Aladdin. People are always going to have to eat, right? You take any other business, you never know when you're going to...
Save it. You better take Arthur, Mr. Aladdin, before the professor gets here. He's not going to like Arthur being gone.
The professor? There's still another delightful personality I don't know about?
Yes, my spiritual advisor. He's a medium. Arthur is his control with the other side.
I see. Well, come on, Arthur.
Just take hold of his leash. If you kind of halfway choke him a little bit, he's not so apt to bite you.
Easy there, Arthur. Easy now.
Mr. Aladdin, I've been thinking. I want Arthur to feel at home, you understand?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, so I was thinking, if you could take him to the bar about 8 blocks over, the Taj Mahal Bar and Grill. You can't see the Mahal on account of a big sign saying unemployment checks cashed.
Know the place well.
Yes, well, I think Arthur would like that. The other Arthur, the two-legged one, spent all his time there when he was alive. That's why he fell downstairs.
Consider it done, Mrs. Dutton.
And here's the address of my lawyer. He'll pay you. Stick 'em good.
I shall do my best.
Hey, you mean, honey, that we can actually... we can actually hold hands without Arthur sinking his fangs into me?
We sure can, Bernie.
Well, not that I have anything against the other side, but I figure when they get there, they should stay there. Know what I mean, Aladdin?
I know what you mean, Bernie. Come on, Arthur. Arthur. Arthur, let go.
Hey, look at him. He's just a jealous fool.
Arthur and I wended a bloody 8 blocks to the Taj Mahal Bar and Grill. And it was with a certain lack of sincerity that I extolled his virtues to the Taj Mahal's owner, an Indian potentate named Sam.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Aladdin. I got to look at it from a business angle. A customer gets bit 3 or 4 times by this dog, he gets alienated like as not.
Sam, you got a wrong picture entirely of this dog's personality. Why, he's almost human.
That's the source of my complaint.
A shrewd answer. Look, Sam, remember your old friend and former customer, Mr. Dutton? Think of him.
You know, this dog kind of reminds me of Dutton, the expression, sort of.
Of course he does, Sam. Of course he does.
Wouldn't have him around on a bet.
Sam, I have every reason to believe that Mrs. Dutton will make a substantial financial settlement on the lucky man who provides a new home for lovable little Arthur.
Well...
Don't look at him as a dog, Sam. Look at him as a shaggy stack of dollar bills.
How many?
100?
Arthur, you have found yourself a loving home. Hey, Mr. Aladdin, what do I feed him?
Don't worry about that, Sam. Arthur looks out for himself.
Arthur, let go!
Well, must be feeding time. Next day, I presented my bill to H. Allen Steinmetz, trustee of the estate of the late Mr. Dutton. It included $100 for Sam, an item for anti-rabies shots for me, and miscellaneous padding. H. Allen protested each item as a matter of course, as lawyers do when paying out other people's money, but his heart wasn't in it.
There's your check, Mr. Aladdin, although I must say that it's...
Don't.
What? Oh, all right. Mr. Aladdin, I have a message for you from my client, Mrs. Dutton.
Spiritual or otherwise?
Telephone. She would like you at her house this evening. The professor will be there, and they will be testing to find if the spirit of the late Mr. Dutton has indeed departed.
Mr. Steinmetz, just who is the professor?
Professor Ramasades, a student of the occult, head of the Ramasades Foundation of Yoga and Slate Writing. His foundation is the principal beneficiary in Mr. Dutton's will.
Interesting.
Oh, yes. The money is in trust in Mrs. Dutton's lifetime. After that, it passes to the foundation, unless Mrs. Dutton should remarry.
In which case?
The money goes immediately to Arthur. That is, Bosco, the dog.
Then it's very much in the professor's interest to keep Mrs. Dutton from remarrying.
Speaking strictly from the legal point of view, I could not attach any such inference to his conduct. However,
2 and 2 make 4, even at law.
upon offer of sufficient proof, yes.
Looking forward to meeting the professor.
I believe you will find him a rather determined and resourceful man, Mr. Aladdin.
Well, I have that reputation myself, Mr. Steinmetz. After all, I'm a Libra, you know, and you know what they say about Libras.
What?
What? Come to think of it, I don't know. All these years, and I've never known the real me. Oh, well. Before entering the Dutton house that evening, I cased the joint rather carefully. Arthur was nowhere to be found, and he remained only a twinge in my right side. Bernie let me in, and we conversed for a while in dynamic fashion on how to dissect a steer.
Now, you see, the way I figure, Aladdin, people are always going to have to eat, right? No matter what else happens, people are going to have to
Bernie,
eat.
will you take your thumb off the scale? Nobody cares but you on the romance of being a butcher. Hello, Mr. Aladdin.
Good evening, Mrs. Dutton. Ravishing, as usual.
Well, thank you. I thought maybe this dress was a little extreme for the seance, but then Mr. Dutton never noticed when he was alive. I guess he's not going to start now.
You're expecting Arthur?
No, not really. I just can't get used to not having him around snarling at me. It's been sheer heaven, huh, Bernie?
Yeah, sheer heaven.
Oh, that's the professor. Let him in, Bernie.
Oh, sure.
You know, he's a very interesting type, the professor. Spiritual, but with a little... well, you know.
I'm looking forward to finding out.
Ah, good evening, dear lady. You're simply blooming. But then this is an excellent day for all Pisces, a day of important decisions and discoveries.
Really? Professor, this is Mr. Aladdin, Professor Ramazades.
How are you, Professor?
I seem to be receiving an unfavorable vibration, Mrs. Dutton.
Well, that's just the subway. It runs right underneath.
I hardly think it is the subway. Well, shall we go on with the work? Arthur's here.
Well, Professor, maybe I should have told you this before. Arthur won't be back. He found a new home.
What? You have cut off our contact with the other side? Aladdin, you are responsible for this?
Well, let's just say I helped.
Well, shall we prepare for the seance room?
Well, it won't do any good, will it, with Arthur gone?
Oh, we shall see. We shall see. After you, my dear lady. Now, lines drawn? Good. Now, with your permission, I shall place a shade over this candle. Take places around the table, please.
Oh, not there, Mr. Aladdin. You can't sit in the north side of the room.
Oh, silly of me.
Is there anyone present wearing a garment of silk? If there is, I shall have to ask...
I've got some silk... No, they're rayon.
Ah, most fortunate. Now, we shall join the mystic circle. If you will all join your hand to the one next to you.
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it, Mr. Aladdin? I mean, the dark and holding hands and all.
Yes, it certainly is. Bernie, not so hard on my hands.
Just don't try nothing.
I must ask now for silence. We shall meditate.
We meditated. Eloise on my left and a watchful Bernie on my right. I had my eye on the professor, but he never moved. Until...
Is there a visitor here from behind the veil? Is there such a one present?
Mr. Aladdin.
I pronounce the traditional words of greeting. Hari Om. Is our visitor Arthur Dutton?
Oh, it can't be. Arthur, we gave you away to the Taj Mahal Bar and Grill.
I shall try to penetrate behind the veil to convey our visitor through so that we may all view his beloved figure.
What'd he say?
Next time, perhaps. You have a message, Spirit? Speak it.
I am now using the temporal body of another. Whatever you do, I will be watching you.
Oh, that's a mean, dirty trick, Arthur. Who are you now?
I am using the body of Robert Aladdin.
Foul. Put on the lights. You can't do this to me. Lights.
There, did you hear that, Professor?
I fear I was in a trance-like state. Was there a message?
Was there? Arthur's in Mr. Aladdin. That makes Mr. Aladdin like he was my husband.
He's worse than the dog. Aladdin, you planned this. I know your type.
Libra possesses wonderful qualities that make him ideal for a life partner.
Robert, it was written in the stars.
Professor, I hate you.
CBS Radio invites you to a full schedule of comprehensive news programs throughout the day and evening on most of these stations. In addition, whenever last-minute news of high importance breaks, the CBS newsroom is geared to interrupt all programming to bring it to you, the public. Brilliant reporters plus eyewitness observers in all strategic news capitals. That's the combined batting power that makes CBS Radio News unbeatable when it comes to news beats. Mr. Aladdin continues to perform The Miracle of the Four-Legged Husband.
It was several days later, and I, guided by what astral force I knew not, wandered into the Taj Mahal Bar and Grill. My reception was not of the warmest.
I've been trying to get in touch with you, Mr. Aladdin. You gotta do something.
Sammy, we all have problems.
Well, I got one that I'm giving back to you. Arthur.
Sam, boy, did I ever tell you about the dog?
What?
Dog. The one true and unselfish friend that man can have in this selfish world. The one who remains faithful when all others have deserted. And then, after that final curtain has fallen, will stand guard over your lifeless body.
Look, Mr. Aladdin, I don't want to be a lifeless body. For a small dog, Arthur's got a bite like a saber-toothed tiger.
Playful.
He's driving away customers. You know, this dog's got a personality just like the former Mr. Dutton. He's an argumentative drunk.
Arthur's turned to drink?
The customers feed him beer. Those that don't know. 2 swallows, and he wants to clean out the joint.
Sam.
Mr. Aladdin, Arthur has got to go.
That's final?
Final.
All right, but on one condition. You carry him. A small but noisy cavalcade, Sam, Arthur, and myself, retraced the 8 bloody blocks back to the Dutton residence. I thought it was charitable of Sam to place Arthur's troubles on drink. I'd seen him sober, and it was pretty much the same, Arthur.
Why, Robert, you know I knew it was you the minute I heard the bell. I got a definite psychic flash.
Dandy. Mrs. Dutton.
Eloise.
Eloise, this is Sam from the Taj Mahal, and little Arthur.
Robert, Mr. Dutton has definite control over you. You're spending your time at the Taj Mahal.
Maybe we better go in and talk this thing over, huh? It might take a little time, Sam.
Mrs. Dutton, I just want to say that while many's the night I had to eject the late Mr. Dutton forcibly, had I known what kind of a woman his fine wife was, I would have been considerably more gentle.
Well, thank you very much.
Sam.
Sam?
There seems to be a problem with Arthur, Eloise.
Yes?
Sam feels that the mortality rate at his place has soared alarmingly since the advent of Arthur.
Oh, I can handle him myself, Mrs. Dutton. I just get the same grip on his collar I used on the late Mr. Dutton, like this.
In a word, Eloise, Arthur is home again.
Well, I guess that kind of makes me a bigamist, huh?
Mrs. Dutton, I hope you'll pardon my seeming crudity, but we live in a fast-moving world. What I want to know is, Mrs. Dutton, speaking as a bachelor gentleman myself, are you at the moment unattached?
Sam, Mrs. Dutton's ties are more with the spiritual world.
Yes, communications from the other side.
Oh, well, I guess I can compete with a communication.
Hi, Eloise. Who's this?
This is Sam, Bernie. Bernie Sam.
A cabaret owner, Bernie.
Who has thrown his hat into the ring.
And he brought Arthur home.
Things aren't complicated enough already.
I beg your pardon, my friend, but do you have something against the cabaret business?
The meat business is over it like a tent. Supposing a man's down to his last quarter, is he going to eat or drink?
If it was the late Mr. Dutton, he'd drink.
Very well put, Eloise.
You keep out of this.
Bernie Cap, you can't talk to my spiritual mate like that.
Hey, Mr. Aladdin, you've been holding out on me?
Sam, Bernie.
Look, Arthur's jealous of Mr. Aladdin. Arthur, it's all in the family.
Sam, grab him. The grip, Sam, the grip.
I wouldn't move a muscle.
Mr. Aladdin.
Yes, Jeannie?
Mr. Aladdin, accustomed as I am to your being involved in things, shall we say, a little out of the ordinary,
I think we can.
I still don't think I quite follow your current case.
Very simple, Jeannie. You see, at the present, Professor Ramasades is the heir of the estate held in trust for Mrs. Dutton.
Yes.
Now, if she remarries, the money goes immediately to Arthur, the dog. Therefore, she'll continue to get messages from the other side advising her strongly against marriage.
Through you?
It would seem that way.
Mr. Aladdin, there isn't any danger of your becoming... I suppose she would seem attractive to certain men.
Not my type, Jeannie.
Oh, well, then why are you reading up on seances and how the spirits communicate?
A shopping list for you, Jeannie. 2 plastic hands, a spirit trumpet, and a good sturdy blackjack.
A blackjack?
Jeannie, you never know what you might encounter on the other side. There was a meeting of the smart young seance crowd arranged for the Dutton home that evening. Professor Ramasades, Eloise, Sam, Bernie, me, and Arthur. The canine Arthur, that is. The Arthur behind the veil had not yet put in an appearance.
My friends, we have been developing quite satisfactorily up to now, having excellent voice manifestations from beyond. First, through our friend Arthur, and latterly with our friend Mr. Aladdin.
Thank you very much.
Tonight, who knows? If the conditions are right, if no poltergeist disturbances intrude, we might even hope to secure a complete materialization of the late Arthur Dutton. If the urge to break through the curtain is on his part strong enough.
Hey, it might help to have a bottle of gin handy.
Sam.
Oh, sorry, Eloise. I was just trying to be... sorry.
I shall have to ask that the shades be drawn and all lights extinguished, save the single candle.
I'll get him, Eloise.
I can get him just as well as you can, ground round.
Now, don't fight, boys. It sends out bad vibrations. You sit next to me, Mr. Aladdin.
I'm vibrating already.
I'm receiving you, Robert.
Maybe you'd like me to pull you down with the shade, Aladdin.
Bernie.
And I'm just as anti as he is, Mr. Aladdin.
Sit down, Sam. Prepare to meditate.
Now, I shall ask for silence. Is the mystic circle joined? I extinguish the candle. Our moment of meditation.
Once again, we meditated. Eloise's warm hand clasped in my plastic one on the right, and Sam grabbing the one on my left. Finally, the professor broke the silence.
I seem to feel the spirit wind blowing. Is there a presence here, not of earth?
He's here. Arthur.
Will the presence identify himself? Are you Arthur Dutton? I shall try to penetrate behind the veil to convey our visitors through so that we may all view his beloved.
The professor was due for a journey behind the veil, all right, but sooner than he thought. I got up and moved over to where I thought his head would be. It was a good guess.
Professor, you haven't left us.
Hey, it's a trumpet. Luminous.
Nothing's holding it up.
Be not alarmed, my friends. I speak once again to you through Robert Aladdin. Ah, my faithful little dog.
How'd you like a kick in the teeth, Arthur?
My good friend, the professor, is in pain. You shall never know the terrible cost of bringing me through.
Well, Arthur, meaning no disrespect, but could you kind of give me an idea how long you're going to be keeping an eye on me? Not that it isn't swell having you understand.
Dear Eloise, with the wisdom now given me, I see I've done you an injustice. I want you to have in this life the man destined for you.
Who?
Yeah, who?
The one who is and will always be attuned to your spiritual wavelength. The one who will sacrifice all thought of money to make you his.
You mean?
The professor. I have spoken. You will see me no more. Wash day.
Hey, the trumpet's full down.
Hey, get the light, somebody.
I'll get it.
Professor! Professor, wake up! Wake up, Professor!
Was there a message?
Was there? Professor, you and I are soulmates. We've been paired up from another world.
And, Professor, I'm here to see you do right by the little lady. I admit I had hopes myself, but a voice from the other side, well, it's a voice from the other side. Right, Bernie?
Professor, you're going to make a little girl happy, or I'm going to break every bone in your body.
And to think, Professor, I never even knew you felt that way.
But the will, you mustn't marry. I can't let you give up everything just...
I'm a woman, Professor, and I'm giving up nothing, but gaining everything.
Aladdin.
It was written in the stars, Professor. Either. Hey, quick.
Pull off, Mr. Aladdin, somebody.
I got him. Hey, get your bad, Mr. Aladdin.
I don't know, maybe I deserved it. And anyway, how often do you get bitten by a millionaire? Mr. Aladdin was produced and directed by Elliott Lewis, with music composed and conducted by Marlon Skiles. Tonight's transcribed Minor Miracle was constructed by Richard Powell. Paul Frees is starred as Mr. Aladdin, with Sylvia Syms as Jeannie Mobly. They were assisted tonight by Mary Jane Croft, Jack Crucian, Sidney Miller, Joe Granby, Peter Leeds, and Junius Matthews. Bill Anders speaking. Mr. Aladdin was suggested by a book by Carlos Drake. Tonight's program concludes the present series of Mr. Aladdin. We thank you for listening and hope to return in the near future. Lucille Ball and Bob Hope are the co-stars when Lux Radio Theater brings you the comedy hit Fancy Pants on CBS Radio tomorrow night. It's a riot of fun, 1 solid hour of same, as Lucille and Bob team up for one of the most sparkling comedy shows of this or any season. Don't miss Fancy Pants on CBS Radio. That's Lux Radio Theater's laugh hit tomorrow night. And say, Jeanette Davis is back from vacation, and the redhead himself will return before long. Meantime, Robert Q. Lewis is still holding the helm for the fun-loving Godfrey gang every weekday on most of these same CBS radio stations. Listen in for all the fun that you can carry away with you, served up by Robert Q., Jeanette Davis, Marion Marlowe, Tony Marvin, the Blyer Music Man, and the rest of Godfrey's daytime pals. It's a Monday through Friday favorite on CBS Radio. And remember, your news is always accurately reported when it comes from the CBS Radio Network.